Everhood is not what you think it is. Despite the footage you've seen, despite the hype surrounding it, there is a shade of wonder and tonal identity to this game that is seldom matched in other titles. There are only a handful of indie games I've walked away from that have an X factor to them, a unique and foreboding feel that is ever present that I can't quite put a face to. Everhood has landed itself on that tiny list. Undertale has given me that feeling, as has Limbo, and of course, Omori. These might sound like odd comparisons for a rhythm-based boss battle game, but the overlap lies in the otherworldly feeling that I was instilled with when playing, and after peeking behind the curtain and understanding the dark reality of this game's lore and characters, it only confirmed my suspicions from the start. Seriously, I was not expecting the level of atmosphere that this game threw at me. Like a downtown street riddled with neon signs, most of this setting is draped in darkness, almost unwilling to be seen, yet the glimmers we're exposed to are so full of endearment and attitude. One moment I was fighting against a disgruntled dancer, and in another, I walked in on the tail end of a tabletop gaming get-together that put all the characters I'd met up to that point in a D&D-like setting, complete with its own subplot and gags. Like, there were multiple bosses and everything. It was crazy. I've turned down around a dozen different sponsored opportunities on my channel, but when I heard that the publisher for a game I was planning on making an upload for anyway wanted me to promote an updated version of Everhood, I was really excited. As a result, this video is sponsored by Blitworks and inspired by the handful of people that asked me to cover Everhood. I'm going to be showing you some of the new content throughout this video, but in case you're really curious, what exactly does this new version of the game include? Well, Everhood Eternity Edition is available on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PlayStation 5 and 4 consoles. It contains 16 exclusive battles featuring songs from the composers of games like Donkey Kong Country, Fez, Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man, and Crypt of the Necrodancer, among others. The battles themselves are designed by some of the best level designers in the Everhood community. My personal favorite tracks that were added include David Wise's The Jazz Cult and Disaster Piece's Juggle or Not of Donkey Kong Country and Fez fame respectively. For real, David really channels his inner DKC with this one. There's a rich and upbeat jazzy feel to the entire track that I just absolutely love. Just so you know, you can also check the first link in the description below to access the different stores where you can buy the game, and you can follow the publisher on Twitter/X and other social media sites to enter giveaways they are organizing to celebrate the launch. Based on the footage you've seen, it's probably obvious what you're normally doing in this game. The main crux of your time will be spent either sidestepping or hopping over notes in a grid to defeat different bosses or NPCs as you fight to gain back your missing arm from the game's antagonist, Goldpig. But to say this is all you do in Everhood would be blatantly wrong by a country mile. Disregarding the layers to this story you'll surely unravel as you progress, Everhood is not afraid to straight up break away from its lane-based rhythm fighting sequences at any point to give you something vastly different, be it its visual style or even gameplay mechanics. I appreciate games that take a simple idea and push it to its extreme since it puts emphasis on how the level interacts with the core premise. Undertale does this with its dodging sequences, and Rhythm Doctor does this in general. Funny side note here, but there actually is a Rhythm Doctor crossover track among Eternity Edition's new songs, and as you'd expect, it absolutely slaps. Like, they even incorporate the beat mechanic. Everhood changes things up so often it can feel more in lines with a genre-hopping category like It Takes Two than a standard rhythm experience. There's a minecart section where you have to bounce between buttons on either side of this platform, a go-kart race where you have to carefully juggle your throttle speed to stay on course, a maze with a terrifying monster that requires you to find the eject button to escape, and loads of level or mini-games that distort the screen or introduce new mechanics. Let me address a question a lot of you might already have. Can I enjoy this game if I'm not the most rhythmically inclined? Well, the answer to that question is interesting because, as you can likely tell, rather than dodge with the beat, you'll be avoiding it. Meaning, there isn't a requirement to match a tempo with your opponent or time things perfectly. It's almost like an inverse rhythm game. The beat determines the level layout, but it's not something you have to jive with on a spiritual level or anything. Just something you need to be aware of and avoid carefully. So yes, you very much can derive a lot of enjoyment out of this game without being versed well-versed in the rhythm genre. Most games are lucky to have one or two good ideas, but Everhood has so many that it's confident in introducing them and then making them disappear just as easily, if only to keep things fresh. The world that interconnects these songs is also prone to giving you unique challenges. Hell, some of these don't even put you in the battle grid and are dodged exclusively by moving your character. These ones in particular can be really tough. All of these mechanics and twists are built on a gameplay foundation that, while simple, is perfect for channeling all of these different and unique ideas. It's an approach that could have easily gone belly up if the core design wasn't very good in the first place, but as a transformative canvas, the core design passes with flying colors. One of my personal favorites is the ability to deflect enemy attacks, which is present in some minigames but available in all battles once you get far enough in the story and make the correct decisions. It not only adds a very satisfying layer of complexity to fights, but encourages you to revisit a lot of NPCs to challenge them with that new mechanic, and maybe even challenge NPCs you couldn't fight in the first place. Depending on which NPC it is, prepare to feel really bad about doing this. I also have to give a shout out to the quieter tracks in this game. While the battles themselves are obviously the main focus, there are multiple moments between fights where softer and more melodramatic songs play that really elevate the feeling of the setting you're in, be it a crypt-like hallway or a weird little town. You'll appreciate the reprieve too, considering how high energy some of these battles are. I never really experienced a pacing issue in this game because of the sheer different things it was throwing at me. Nothing ever stagnated or felt like it dragged on too long. And every battle is wrapped in a really beautiful pixelated style that uses lots of negative space and weird contours to detail its locales. The palette isn't afraid to use really saturated colors, and it just lends itself to a look that feels really dream and trance-like. When it breaks from this visible style, it becomes all the more fascinating too, like this 3D match or a desert that seems to stretch on forever. If you're experienced with rhythm games, it might be tempting to jump straight to the hard setting, but difficulty-wise, I honestly recommend starting with normal since it gives you health regeneration, which might sound like a bit too much help if you're craving some pushback, but the game's actually still decently tough despite this, and you can change it at any time, so no harm, no foul. Some of these songs are on the longer side, and since there's no health regeneration past the normal difficulty, you'll have to make sure you're extremely careful. Despite the original version of Everhood being available for years now, I won't spoil everything it has to offer, both on the story and gameplay fronts. Just know that there's more than enough reason to make multiple save files before you get to the ending. The game tells you this itself. The backstories for these characters in particular are extremely tragic, and it paints your character's actions in a very interesting light. Having discovered the truth of this world and what its people have been through, it's sunk in that this game's cast and setting would be ruminating in my head for some time. I wasn't expecting to feel something like that from a rhythm game ever in my life, really. The tragic underpinnings of the main character, the distorted walkways, the shaded forests, the weirdly empty nightclub, the uncanny village, all of it just culminates in something that really just feels different than a lot of the atmosphere many indies go for. I think that Everhood could have been reliably entertaining had it just stuck with its battle grid and used good music. The fact that it's willing to depart from its core premise so often and take so many bold risks in its design and succeed is really what makes it truly special. The game has a real affinity for not showing you all its cards right away. Some of them are stashed in secret till the end of the story. It's the kind of game that you'll ruminate about and find yourself returning to just to try the next difficulty or go on an alternate story route. Provided you make it through Everhood's new and old content and you're still craving more, you have the very promising looking Everhood 2 to look forward to. Yeah, for real, there's a sequel on the way. Like, this whole time I probably should have just opened with that. That's like a pretty big deal. From what we can see in the trailer, it introduces a weapon system, multiple characters, and most importantly, Lucy. Everhood Eternity Edition has a lot to compete with this year, I'm very aware. 2023 is very booked. But after experiencing its rhythmic battles and unique tonal feel, I can't help but recommend that you somehow, in some way, make time for it. Between the characters, the ever-evolving gameplay, and the world that's equal parts somber and dreamlike, you won't be disappointed. With an average run being about 4 or 5 hours, excluding all of the awesome optional content, it really won't be hard to fit this in. There's a Discord link in the description for my server if you want to join and recommend games that I cover. We're trying to to hit the 1,000 member mark before the year is over. It's a very active place. I think you'll really enjoy it. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter. I post about Amori mods on there, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, feel free to stick around. Of course, huge thanks to my patrons, as well as all people that have supported the channel financially in some way across all platforms. Even after doing this for 3 years, it still feels crazy that anyone would be willing to do that for me, so I am forever indebted to you. Another thanks to Blitworks for sponsoring this video. I was very flattered when I saw that they were interested in doing this, especially for a smaller channel like mine. It really does feel like a huge stamp of approval to get these sponsorship opportunities. You honestly have no idea how much us smaller channels appreciate stuff like that. Makes our day. Until next time, thanks so much, and have a wonderful night. Booba.